but that's not what the parable is talking about. It literally says the nations will be judged, and so therefore, do the nations deliver those basic human rights or not? That is really the question. Ergo, the nations had chosen the very standard by which they would be judged. And further in the book of Matthew, Jesus says, whatever standard of judgment you arrive at, I'm going to use that same standard of judgment to you. Again, whether you're religious or not, the nations will be judged by whether they adhere to that standard. And you've just eloquently pointed out how the nations are miserably failing to achieve and adhere to that standard. So what's next?
Not for me.
Yeah, I get it's a big question, and I know it's like what 3 a.m. and you're going on 2 hours sleep and 6 cups of coffee.
What's the next step? What I would like to see is a revival of democracy, an end to globalization, a restoration of restoration is not the right word because we never really had it. So I want to see some moral clarity, some moral backbone. I would like to see our nation states restored, and democracy is an aspiration. Secularism is an aspiration. We will never get any of it perfect, but the victories are when you try to do it. This is when your society is built about what you try to do. You're never going to get everything right, but that's what I would like to see happen. The United Nations needs to go. I mean, I'm not sure what we would replace it with. I'm not against cooperation between countries, but it is morally bankrupt. And the comment has been left that all countries fail to live up to the UN standards to some extent. That's fine. And like I said, nothing's perfect. But when a body has a commitment to free speech, for example, around the world, and a commitment to equal rights between men and women, and then it allows a society like Iran to sit on a board, that's not just we're not perfect. That's complete opposition to what they pretend to preach. It's not about, you didn't perfectly have freedom of speech this year. No one's perfect. But there's a big difference between not perfect and stoning people to death. There's a big gap between those two. And the UN is morally bankrupt. Most countries are actually morally bankrupt at this point. And we need a sort of a moral reset to go forward. And that means moral clarity. Is it wrong to torture people to death? Yes or no? If we decide it is wrong, well then let's stick to that and oppose torturing people to death consistently across the world. And those who won't get on board with it's wrong to torture people to death should be isolated and kept out of the government process globally.